All right, what's up, everybody? I'm Shane from Ferocious Fatherhood, excited for another 30 for 30 campaign episode here. My guest today, I got Shane Achey from Hero Dad Mission. Shane, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Hi, Shane. It's awesome to be on and excited to chat with you a little bit about fatherhood.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited to be here. I'm glad that you were able to bring your daughter on as well, man. I love seeing fathers. I mean, this is real. This is raw. This is what we do, right? So
Absolutely.
I love the fact that we get your daughter in here.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, let's hope that she can stay quiet enough that we can chat here a little bit.
Hey, man, even if they don't, that's a part of it. We'll roll with it. We'll figure it all out, man.
Absolutely.
Cool. So like I said, you're from Hero Dad Mission. I'd like you to kind of take a minute, kind of discuss what that is, get your message out there before we get started. So go ahead, man.
Sure. So Hero Dad Mission is started as a blog. So I have a website. There's a presence. I also have a presence on Instagram, some other social media channels as well, starting a YouTube channel. And basically what we're all about is just supporting fathers. I am a dad of 4, and I actually started out with my wife and I, not sure if we'd ever have any kids. We were told that there was a less than 1% chance that we would ever have kids naturally. So
Wow.
we had some fertility treatments and did IVF and had some battles with that, and ended up with twin boys. And then we thought, okay, we're done. We had our boys, this is great. Like, we're very blessed. And 4 months later, we found out that my wife was pregnant, and ended up, we thought it was a girl. I wanted, daddy's little girl, and that was great. And we thought, oh my gosh, God gave us this miracle little girl. This is fantastic. And then I thought, for sure, we're done. And my wife was like, I don't know. I just think I don't feel right. Something's missing. I feel like we're missing one. 3 years later, we had Ainsley here. So four kids later, and there's some really busy, hectic days, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. Feel very, very blessed.
Man, absolutely. It's so awesome that story in and of itself is so awesome. Less than 1% chance to 4 kids. That's nuts. That's crazy.
Yes. So in the midst of that, I don't remember when it was, year or so, or year and a half or so ago. I was in the middle of some prayer time and just felt God leading me more towards doing something a little bit more to encourage and support fathers, dads. I was in the middle of the same situation where it was a little bit difficult, and this was something I was finding to be a passion of mine. So I try to reach out to, not necessarily, I guess it could be any dad, any father, who is going on this journey, but specifically to those that I think I sort of call it an ordinary father. So we sit there, we come home from work, and we are kind of with our kids, but not really engaging with them all that much. And you sort of just roll through life a little bit with your kids, and then find out, you're in middle school, they get to middle school, they get to college, and you're like, man, I blew all that time. So sort of taking that ordinary father, as I would call it, and helping them become, what I would call a hero dad. How to be present with your kids, how to engage with them, how to, do things like just fun activities, and incorporating self-care and bringing your kids into that. So that's sort of my message, is just being able to really hone in on spending that time with your kids, being present with them as often as you can, and not missing that time, so you don't have those regrets later on in life. So yeah, that's what Hero Dad Mission is all about.
That is spot. I mean, that is really awesome to hear. That's so spot on. It reminds me of a lesson my dad taught me. It was more of his work lesson when he became a manager. He was saying, out of all your guys, 10% they're top performers. You're not going to be able to influence them because it's intrinsic. They are top performers. There's another 10% they're bottom performers. You're never going to be able to influence them because they're bottom performers. They show up, they want their paycheck, and they go home. And then there's that middle 80% who are good, but you just kind of need a little bump to get, to that extra 10% so that they can be extraordinary. So that's really awesome. That sounds like exactly what you're doing. I love that, man. I'm all about getting like the the fathers right there in the middle and bumping them up, man. That's so cool. I love that. So you discussed a little bit about like your background a little bit. So you said how many kids you had. Let's go back to your childhood. So growing up, what was your father? Was your father in the picture? What example did you see from a father?
Yeah. So my dad was really involved in things like sports, would come to, our sporting events growing up, coached us, stuff like that, where I feel like you hear a lot of dads nowadays talk about how their dads were involved in that sort of way. He also was a great provider, never had any issues there. We were very blessed with what my dad was able to provide for us. But I think like a lot of the dads of this generation, their fathers were sort of absent when it came to, the day-to-day stuff, playing with us, sort of engaged on the floor when your kids are young, doing things like that. That was not something that I had as much of. And I don't think it was, I don't blame my dad for that. I mean, I love my dad. He was a great father. He did, I think the best that he was able to do. And that's something that I think years ago was just not as much of a priority. It wasn't something I think that a lot of dads thought was something they needed to do as much. So that's something that I try to do more with my kids, is something that, I want to try and take from that experience with my father and try and do a little bit more of with them. So yeah, that's a good summary of it, I feel like.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting to see how generation to generation the fathers are different. The fathering style is different. I was talking to my dad the other day, and he was explaining how when his father raised him, it was way different than when he raised us, which is now way different than me raising my kids. So it's really interesting to see all that. I do think that like the lessons that get taught are like the major lessons are primarily similar. So what were some of those major lessons that you learned from your father as a kid?
I think my dad taught me, how to work hard. That was something that was very, clear from the beginning. Always a hard worker. And something that I think is really lacking a lot with today. A lot of men, I think, are, don't quite get that message. Show up every day, your job, your family, just put in the work, show up, that sort of thing. So that was driven home. Also, I would say, let's see, family in general. I mean, despite what I said about, not their, playtime, stuff like that, my dad was always big time family man. And that was something that he talked about a lot. We had family, there was always family get-togethers. We would go to sporting events, we would support each other, we would do all that. Both of my parents really was something that they harped on quite a bit, was making sure that we supported each other, stuck up for family. We showed up for each other to different things that we did, and outside of sports, even just trying to build friendship, and family always comes first, that sort of thing. Those were very, very important for sure. And that's definitely something that I try and emulate with my kids, with my family.
That's awesome to hear. So obviously you're a sports fan. So growing up, did you have any other fatherhood figures, maybe in like the form of a coach or maybe a teacher or anything like that, that you're able to get some lessons from?
I did have there's probably two that I can think of. I had, when it comes to sports, I had a football coach in high school, and he was able to teach me a lot of things that kind of stick in my head even today. He was very, he had played for, I think, University of Miami, and he coached us, and we're in a small rural area in Pennsylvania here. So he brought his, sort of big city philosophy to where we're at, and he would have that booming voice, and he was always saying things that were, not like this bigger crazy message, but it was things like, okay, guys, hey, please and thank you. Like, make sure we're giving manners. Make sure that we're respecting the other coaches, shaking hands, looking at people in the face, stuff like that. Like how to be a man. Things that I'm trying to. It's funny because it seems pretty, like I said, like it's not this huge message or profound thing, but it's something that I remember, and I'm trying to get to my boys, trying to teach to my boys and my kids now too. Hey guys, please and thank you. Make sure that we're doing this. So that had a pretty big impact on me for sure. And there were other lessons in there, but that was just something that stuck out with me, that it was more than football. It was more than winning for him. It was about teaching us how to be men and how to grow up to be, good men, good dads, good, all that sort of stuff. And then I had another coworker who just recently retired, and he was a great encourager. He was able to really help me spiritually, I think, throughout the years as well. He was a real mentor there. And it was definitely somebody who probably from about middle school on, I got close with him, and was sort of odd the way it happened. He just worked at my dad owns a family business. I'm also involved in that. And we ended up meeting through that, and just sort of carried that relationship on, and was something that I really enjoyed. He's since retired, so I don't get to see him as much every day, and definitely miss that. But I appreciate all the encouragement that he gave me throughout the years. And like I said, spiritually, it was something that I definitely appreciated, and something that I think I needed at certain points throughout my I wouldn't say childhood, but more teen years and into high school and things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Going back to the coaches, I think coaches play such a huge part. I can remember I played soccer my whole life, so I can remember my coach. There's several instances where the coach on the other team starts getting mad and starts cussing out our coach, and our coach is not responding at all. Like, hey, this isn't worth it. We're around kids. That's not worth it at all. So that was like a huge lesson I took. Like, what's the important part of it? The important part is your kids getting out there playing. I mean, yes, you want to win. Yes, you give it your all. And I'm not downplaying that at all. But you're out there. Sportsmanship is a huge aspect of it. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, I think too, coming away from sports, and everybody has a different mentality with it. But my kids are young, so my boys are 4. They're going to be turning 5 in 2 days. And then my daughter is going to be turning 4 soon, and then she's 9 months. So they're young yet to be super interested in sports, but I'm working towards getting them there because of trying to learn some of the lessons that we're talking about. And one of the things that I'm really trying to drill into their heads, which it sounds like both of us were learning, was that sports isn't about winning. I don't care if they get involved and they win anything. All I want them to do is go play, do the best that you can, and then whatever happens, happens. I think there's so many things that you can learn from sports, or just team activities in general. Anything that involves working with a team, working with others, that you can sort of learn those lessons. So yeah, we're on the same page there.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember another real important lesson. It was after one of our practices, and one of the kids' father, this kid was really good. I mean, he was probably one of the better people on the team, but he never showed up to the practices. So come game time, coach didn't play him. So I can remember them having that discussion. And I remember the coach being like, look, your son's really good, but unless your son shows up regularly, I'm not going to play him. And that's the way it is. So he's a part of the team, and the team needs him to function by coming to practices. So that's another huge one that I really learned from him. So I think that's really cool.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So you talked about some of the values that you're incorporating into your kids, but how are you doing
that? So I think one of the things that I'm doing, so I talked about the competition. That's something that has been coming up more recently. Like I said, my kids are getting a little bit older, and having twins, there's like this natural competition built in. It's a constant lately, oh, my drawing's better than yours, and I ate my dinner faster than you did, or whatever it is. And it feels like it's just on repeat, where I'm just saying to them, guys, it doesn't matter who does it faster. It doesn't. Everybody's drawing is great. You don't have to worry about. And the competition is great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think competition is good, but I don't want them thinking that they have to constantly compete, with each other, with other people. It's just in everything that they do is trying to get that message across of just okay, just do the best that you can. And that's all that daddy cares about. That's all that I want you to, if you do that, I'll be proud of you. Don't worry about anything else. So for me, that's how I would say with that one. It's just, I'm just trying to in every facet of their lives, just make sure that they understand that it's not a competition. Just do the best you can. And then the other ones I talked about, I think a lot of it comes down to me, honestly. There's a study that I saw, I don't know if you're familiar with, it was some years ago. Dr. Robert Epstein did a study, and he came up with what he called were the parenting 10. And it was like 10 ideas or 10 things that you can do that will make your kids be successful kids. And the first one was something that was not surprising. It was like, give your kids love and affection. Okay. We could understand that. Like, that's really important. And then number 2 and 3 were things that didn't really involve your kids at all. And it was how you manage your own stress was number 3. And number 2 was your relationship with your spouse or your co-parent. So in saying that, I think that was something that reminded me that I can parent my kids or say whatever I want to them, but if I'm not doing it myself, then that's probably one of the biggest factors is, especially as they get older here, they're just like sponges and they just notice things all the time. Well, daddy, in fact, it just happened today. We were all watching the Eagles game today, and well, I say watching, they watched like 5 minutes. But then later on, my wife came down, we were all sort of playing, jumping around, and he said something, I can't remember what it was. And it wasn't anything, I'm not talking profanity or anything here, but we're pretty strict with our kids and what we want them to say and things like that. And I heard my wife say, "Where did you hear that?" And my son said, "Well, daddy said it." And I was like, "Yep, I did. Yep. I'm sorry. We don't want to say that. I made a mistake," and they're constant reminders. Your kids are like, one of the things I like to say are, your kids are a mirror that reflects back to you your true self. That absolutely. If you're not sure who you are and how you're doing, all you got to do is look at your kids. Yep. So this is a very long-winded way of saying that I think one of the ways that I'm instilling the values that I want my kids to carry and to hold are basically to say that, I need to hold them. I need to stick true to what I'm telling them to do. So I try to focus on that a lot, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I was talking to Luke Ross yesterday from Dad's Digging Deeper, and me and him, we got talking about the exact same thing. He was saying like how your kids, I mean, they want to watch you. They want to learn by watching you, and how important it was for them to see you get uncomfortable, for them to see you working out or learning new skills. So that way they learn how they also learn how to handle stress, like you're talking, when they get uncomfortable. So that's awesome. I mean, that could not be any more true. We make a big point out of like trying to get my son, who's 4, we try, hey, come to the gym with me in the morning. You're going to go, you're going to watch me work out. You're going to hop in there. We're going to, little weights. We'll start really simple, but how important it is for them to see you do that. That's the best way that they can learn.
Well, and I think too, it's hard to do that. Like, that's where I've heard it said before that a father is basically a title that you're given when you have a child. Like, that's what you're given by birth. Like, that's the title. But to be a dad, that's where you have to really dig in and get your hands dirty and do some of that stuff that, okay, maybe I'm going to have to sacrifice some of the things that I wanted to do today, or, whatever, something else that was on the slate of things for my plans today. And instead of, okay, I'm just going to bag it, I'll just go for a run myself, or I'm just going to go on these errands, without the kids, because man, it's a pain in the butt to go take them into the grocery store or whatever. And I understand. I mean, trust me, I understand that. It's really hard, but I found a lot of benefit and value lately to trying to do some of those things. One of my sons has a really hard time. You were just talking about working out, where I take him on a bike ride, or I've tried to get him to run with me, things like that. And it's hard because there's some whining and there's some complaining, but that's where it comes down to what I've was talking to you about before, that my dad instilled into me, hard work. You have to be able to you have to be willing to do some things that are hard, and to show your kids that you're willing to do that too. So I try and bring him along on stuff like that. Or like I said, grocery trips or errands or things that we do. It's another way that we can spend time with our kids too, where we got busy lives. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you hear that all the time. I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. And if you just use that as an excuse and don't try and figure out ways that you can bring your kids in on stuff or get creative with some of those things, eventually it's going to be 10 years down the road and you were just, I'm busy the whole time. And where did all that time with my kids go? So, yeah, definitely something that I've been working on my end, to try and get creative and spend time with them that way, and teach them some of those things, how to work hard, do hard things, get outside your comfort zone, stuff like that.
Yeah. And just by having them there, I mean, some of my favorite memories with my son, just by having him there, we recently moved from San Antonio to Salt Lake. And I mean, we drove cross country like 1,500 miles, and just having him in the car. And yeah, like you said, you get creative. I imitated my dog talking, and that was my son's favorite. His favorite game the entire time was just, hey, let me talk to the dog. And there I was imitating the dog's voice, and he loved it. But yeah, you awesome. Definitely do gotta get creative. It's interesting to see how creative you can get. Hey, you want to take him to the gym and you want to deadlift? Well, okay, cool. What? How can you incorporate your son into that? How can you get them involved? Go over. Let's get some weights together. This is what you do. This is form. And it definitely takes longer. I mean, don't get me wrong. My hour workout is now almost 2, but it's so worth it. So worth it.
Absolutely.
I would much rather put that time into my kid than not into him. Just have him be at home and not learn nothing. So that's an awesome point that you brought up.
And one thing you said there that I like to just touch on for a second, if I can. You were talking about the car ride, and how something like as simple as that, and the dog impersonation or whatever you said, like that was what he remembered. It's so often that's the case, where we try and create these like mountaintop experiences for our kids and have these expectations where this is going to be amazing, this vacation or this trip, or I spent all this money, and they don't care. All they remember is it's like the everyday experiences that you end up doing something with them. It's totally unplanned, and you do something just totally off the cuff, and they remember that. That's what they enjoy. That's what they like to do. Those are some of the experiences with my kids that I remember the most, are where we did something that was totally unplanned and they had a blast. And it's almost like, I think it's really important. One of the most important things as a parent in general, but certainly as a father, to really try and make every moment count with your kids, to be present. We've all heard that before. But it's so true. And those times where I feel that the most, and where I pull away those memories that are almost like burned into my brain, are not those, it was sort of an odd year. We were on 5 vacations this summer because we're sort of making up for lost time. And we had some good memories for sure. Like I'm not saying we didn't, but some of the things that I remember most in my head are like a time we were bouncing on the trampoline and I was acting like a monster or something and chasing my kids, and I can just see them laughing as we run around the trampoline and their little legs moving, and it's just like burned into my head. Memory with my daughter, like putting her to bed, and just when you're able to sit in those moments and just really engage your senses, and what am I seeing, what am I hearing, and what am I feeling right now, and all that sort of stuff, and being able to stop and pause and just sort of take that in, I think that's where we sort of miss the boat today, is something that we need to really be doing, because time is something you can never get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can't fast forward time. You can't rewind time. The only time you got is right now. So try and work on, being in the moment and remembering those things, and just everyday stuff. The everyday stuff, I think, is where we live most of the time. And we so often just let it kind of run by us. I do that all the time. Little things that I think can annoy you as a dad, especially with young kids, where it's just like, oh my gosh, like just go to bed. I'm just, I'm ready to just be on my own. But it's those things that if I stop and think about it, when it's not there anymore, I'm going to miss it. And I'll say that to my wife. We'll look at each other. It's sort of a funny thing. You're going to miss this when they don't do it. She's like, yeah, you're right. I guess I will. So, but yeah, your story reminded me of that I think that's just one of those things that we really need to try and get better at, is just being in the moment with our kids and enjoying those times, those just like off the cuff experiences. And I think we would be much better off for it and have a lot more memories. And I think our kids would love that for sure.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And you were talking about like the going to bed, man. Right now, my 4-year-old, he does not want to sleep. And like every time we sit down for dinner, it's an hour-long type of thing just for him to eat. So it's a really good reminder to hear somebody else say that. So like, hey, you need to, just slow down, take those moments. Yeah, it's long to eat dinner. However, more time he's interacting with his dad, that's less time he's interacting with someone else who can influence him. So
right.
That's really
absolutely
awesome. Cool. So earlier you talked about how you guys had like a 1% chance of getting pregnant. So once you guys had gotten pregnant up until now, what has been the hardest problems that you faced as a father?
Oh, that's a great question. Honestly, I think I lose track of that sometimes. Just being in that mindset of being grateful. We're really in the middle of it right now with, not essentially, for at least another couple days. It's 4 kids all under 5 years old. Yeah. So it could be a real battle some days. And my wife is amazing. Like, she's a stay-at-home mom. I say she has the hardest job. Whenever, what does your wife do? I say, she's got the hardest job. She's at home with all 4 of our kids.
Yeah.
So then when I get home, she totally understandably, she's like, okay, your turn. Like now you gotta try and take them for a while, let me have a break. And it's difficult trying for us to spend time together, just the 2 of us, and organizing babysitters and all the stuff that goes into that, and just doing some of those other things. Saying all that, I think it could be difficult in the middle of all that just to stop and be like, you know what, we did have less than a 1% chance, and look where we are. This is amazing. My wife just said it today. We were sitting in church and they had a dedication today. And she said, I used to sit here and cry when they did this. And it was such a good reminder of like, yeah, that's where we are now. It's pretty awesome to be in that place where we have these 4 kids, and, some days are a battle. And it's tough, not gonna lie. And I don't have any perfect days. Haven't had one yet, but
they don't exist.
No, absolutely not. I heard a saying recently where they said, if you ever want, there's one way to have perfect kids, and it's to not have kids at all. Which I think is really good for us to hear, because our kids, we can really want them to just, okay, why can't you just not do anything wrong and just be perfect today? And it's it's not possible.
I've told you 4 times to put your dishes in the sink. Why you put them in the trash? What happened?
Yeah. Meanwhile, you stop and you're like, oh wait, yeah, how many things did I do wrong today?
Exactly.
Yeah. So no, but I think that's something that I really am trying to be more proactive about. Something that I started doing recently, I'm trying to add into my list of like daily habits, is to look at older pictures of my kids, because it reminds me how fast time goes, and it also gives me that sense of gratitude. And having been on listening to some other podcasts and other stuff that's out there, I heard one time that gratitude, when you have that mindset of gratitude, your brain physically can't also be thinking about being anxious or being nervous, or when you're in that mindset, that's where you are. So if that's the place that you live in most of the time, then you eliminate some of those other feelings and those other things that you deal with. So that's where I'm trying to get to. Like I said, it's a struggle. I'm not there all the time, but that's the goal.
Yeah, but like being able to be there, that's going to be so powerful. You talking on that, I forget who it was. I want to say it was Eric Thomas that was saying, like, as powerful as the human mind is, you can't hold 2 thoughts at the same time. Mm-hmm. So if you're present, you're exactly right. present, you can't be anxious about the future. Like if you're just right there, I mean, that's where you're supposed to be. That way you're not worrying about anything else coming up, nothing like that. Cool. So I want to kind of wrap this up. We talked about how, you stay actively engaged with your children. So I just got one final question. What is any last piece of advice you have for fathers, maybe any future fathers out there? They also told, hey, you have no chance of having kids, maybe anything like that. Just any last piece of advice. What you got, Shane?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I've been saying for most of this time, I think for dads, I guess there's two things that pop into my head right now. Is something we need to do more often is give ourselves more grace. Like we were just talking about, is there's no perfect father. There's no perfect child. You're going to have days where you messed up. It didn't go well. And on those days, something that I recently have been doing a little bit more is thinking, okay, what was something I did right today? Like I might have done a whole lot of stuff wrong, but there's something I did right. I can focus in on something that I did right. And then, you just live to get to the next day. Sometimes you have those days where you just kind of survive and get through. You're doing what you can to be in the moment, and, you just lose it. It happens. Don't stay there. Don't get stuck in that mindset and just think you're a bad dad because you had a bad day. Everybody has bad days. So that's the first piece of advice I would say. And the other one is, like we said, just be in the moment. Just be in the moment with your kids, whatever it is. Try not to get lost in the idea of, them trying to be this perfect child, and you're trying to put that over other things and all that other stuff. Just be there, enjoy the moment. The bedtime, like we talked about, that could be a real point of frustration, but there's a lot of sweet moments that happen at bedtime, and it goes so fast. If you sit there and you look at it, your kids do things today that they might not do next week, where, okay, today they're carrying a blanket. A couple months from now, they might not do that. They kiss you, they give you hugs. Eventually they're not going to do that. All those, or not as much anyway, all those things change. And if you don't sit there and enjoy it in the moment, eventually all you're going to have are memories. And if you didn't take the time to make any memories, then you're going to be regretting that. You're going to have regrets instead of memories. So I would say be present, be in the moment, enjoy those things as much as you can. And if you don't, like I said, give yourself some grace and then just get back at it the next day. And then back to my story, man, I don't know. That's hard. I think I hope that people can look at that. If there's somebody that's in that situation that is trying to have children and just isn't there yet. I mean, I know how you felt or how you feel. I was there. I worried that it might never happen, and I might have to think of another way, or, get involved with kids, or, at church, or maybe I would, be father figure to some of my siblings, my nieces and nephews, and just I think be open about it. If you're a man of faith, make sure that you are praying about it, and you're in the word and involved in a community at church and doing some of those things. And don't keep that stuff hidden. Don't keep that in the shadows by yourself. Bring light to those things and try and involve some of your friends in your situation, and make sure that other people are there to support you and encourage you. That's a tough battle to fight by yourself, even if it's just you and your wife. You gotta bring other people into those situations, and even if it's not that, maybe you have kids, maybe there's something else going on. Don't keep things in the shadows. The shadows is where you can't fight alone. When you're trying to be a lone wolf and do things that way, I've looked into that some. The idea of that, you're a lone wolf, you end up by yourself, and typically those are the wolves that die. You need your wolf pack. You need your people to battle along with, to be able to support you and encourage you. And so I really would encourage that somebody to, whatever you're dealing with, as much as you can, try and include other couples, other families, church members, you're people who can walk alongside you in that journey. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. The mental health that fathers go through, it can be no joke. There's definitely some dark moments when you've been up since midnight and you have to get up, you gotta go to work, and life doesn't stop. So there's definitely some dark moments. So thanks for touching on that, on definitely reaching out, getting the help that you need. I really do appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, because there's so many other people that I think you go through that, and I'm the only one dealing with this. Nobody else knows I'm the only, which is never the case. There's always somebody else who went through what you went through, almost every time. So, but you don't know that until you reach out and you try and find somebody to help support you and walk through that with you. So yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Shane, we're going to wrap it up. Hey, I really want to say thank you for taking the opportunity, on a Sunday afternoon to sit down and talk with me while you got your kids right there, man. I love it. Thanks for coming on. If you want to take a moment, kind of let people know how they can get a hold of you, get a hold of Hero Dad Mission. If you want to kind of put out a little handle there, go right ahead, man.
Sure, absolutely. If you want to follow Hero Dad Mission, one of the places I'm the most active is Instagram. So look me up on there. I like to do daily videos, different messages, stuff like that. And I also have a blog on my website. The website is Ainsley's really excited about that.
She loves it. She's all excited.
My website is herodadmission.com, and I have my blog on there. You can sign up for my email list as well and get content that way. You can look me up on TikTok, Twitter, stuff like that. But yeah, I'd love to have you involved. And like we said, it's just another way that we can support each other and help each other walk through this journey. And it's tough. Don't do it alone. So yeah, I'd love for you to follow me on there. We can support each other and help each other out.
Cool, brother. Greatly appreciate it, man. Thanks for being on here. Go enjoy some time with your kids, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much, Shane. I love talking with you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Take care. Okay.
You too. See you later.
Right, see ya.